सिक्योरिटी के ज़ुमरे में आता है। ये तो कुछ मालूमात थी जो हमने आप तक पहुंचाई। एक बैकग्राउंड समझिए। अब जैसे कि मैंने आपको पहले कहा था कि हम यूएस एम्बेसी जो है अमरीकी सफारत खाना उसके किसी नुमाइंदे से बात करेंगे। तो उसी सिलसिले में हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं लैरी श्वार्ट्स जो कि सीनियर तर्जुमान हैं यूएस एम्बेसी के, और हम उनसे सेमूर हर्श की इस रिपोर्ट के हवाले से भी बात करेंगे और पाकिस्तान में सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज़ जो हैं, अमरीकी सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज़ बल्कि पीएमसीज़, प्राइवेट मिलिट्री सिक्योरिटी फर्म्स जो हैं, उनकी मौजूदगी के हवाले से भी बात करेंगे। Joining us now is the senior spokesperson of the U.S. Embassy, Larry Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here.
Mr. Schwartz, the Seymour Hersh article in the New Yorker, what would you say about this?
Well, Seymour Hersh is very well known to be a reporter with both good stories and bad stories in his career, and in this case,
all reporters are good and bad with their stories occasionally, so you can't be brilliant all the time.
Some diplomats are the same, but in this case, Seymour Hersh really missed the mark. Not only did he falsely report that the United States was somehow out to plan to grab Pakistan's nuclear weapons, he helped create doubt in an atmosphere where we're really trying to rebuild meaningful trust between Pakistan and the United States.
So, Mr. Schwartz, he's talked about the fact that he spoke with a number of U.S. officials, and he based his story, especially the one about, that false alarm regarding a broken arrow, and one of the teams that flew and came to Dubai and returned from there. So I'm assuming that unless you're saying that he just cooked it up, that he must have spoken with someone. And regarding this broken arrow thing, the information I'm assuming would have come from the U.S. Embassy in Islamabad.
Well, on the latter, I can assure you it didn't come from us. The U.S. Embassy in Islamabad is not hosting now, and never has hosted a team of military officials interested in somehow grabbing any weapons from the government of Pakistan. As Secretary Clinton said when she was here, and subsequently, we have complete confidence in the government of Pakistan and the military of Pakistan's ability to secure your weapons. At this time, there's no problem of any kind. We're not planning for any contingencies. In fact, I'd say that the military of Pakistan is doing an extraordinary job protecting the nation against the growing threat of terrorism in its cities.
Well, Mr. Schwartz, without prejudice to what you have said, and I'm thankful to you for putting this in a perspective, but would you then say that Mr. Hersh just made this entire thing up? And if that is correct, what could possibly be his motives?
Well, I don't know what his motives are, I'm sure that there are people who, in every military, have a plan for something, and frankly, I don't think very much of this idea. I've heard of all kinds of wacky plans over the years to do various kinds of activities around the world, but frankly, most cases, smarter people prevail. And in this case, the U.S. and Pakistan have been in long discussions about nuclear weapons safety and security, and there is really no sense of urgency or anxiety about that particular element of Pakistan's stability or security. We are, however, concerned about the threat that terrorists are posing to your cities. Blowing up yesterday a court, the symbol of law and justice in this country, shows to me that really that's where the threat is, not from some kind of outside force.
Well, just to put it on record, you saying, A, that there was no SOS given by the US Embassy regarding any broken arrow. No team was flown from the US which came to Dubai and returned, and there is no team based on the Pakistani soil or at the US Embassy to try and secure any Pakistani nukes if there is a danger of their falling into the wrong hands.
All of this is completely false and has been denied both by your government and ours. I think it's time that we focus on the real issues here. And I might add that the fact that there are people who are angry about this report that is false are trying to broaden the attack on reporters in general. And let's just be honest. As you said, reporters sometimes have good days and sometimes they have bad days. They make assumptions, they're not correct. Mr. Hersh, I have to only attribute to him the best motives to get a juicy story, but in this case, he was wrong. And I think it's important to put a wrong story behind us and not spread this false story to a broader community of professionals who are trying their best to tell the truth about what's taking place in this very dangerous part of the world.
Well, if you said that he was looking for a juicy story, normally reporters do actually. That's part of the absurdity of the profession. But you also said that there are all sorts of plans and militaries do that, and some of these plans are pretty wacky, as you put it. So Mr. Hersh was talking about the fact that the Department of Energy, the DOD, perhaps the State Department, they all have teams preparing and planning for this kind of eventuality, specifically with reference to Pakistan. So would you say that he probably picked up...
I disagree.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, I disagree.
Okay, so you're saying that they don't have such teams?
No, they don't have such teams and they don't have such plans. You know, many people spend time at think tanks wondering about what could happen in the world. Speculating about the future is the job of military planners, but they're not doing this. The most important thing here is our most grave concern about Pakistan is the threat that is being perpetrated against the people of Pakistan by terrorists, not by some kind of loose nukes scenario, which, by the way, is clearly denied also by your government. So I think it's time to put this to rest and let the people of Pakistan focus on the real issues, because we are not, we don't need to continue discussing something that is not true. Let us look for the things that are true and what we can do about the future together.
Okay, so what Mr. Hersh has tried to do is that he has picked up some information from somewhere about some wacky plan or some kind of scenario building, and also looked at the situation on the ground and woven a tapestry around that. But talking about the internal threat on which you've also focused, one of the things that he says, and I think he's been very clear about that in various television interviews that he's given in the US, that he's not talking about the possibility of the Taliban anytime getting close to the nukes or picking up a device and smuggling it out or using it. But what he's talked about is the insider-outsider collaboration. And he says that there is a fear within the US government, and he's also mentioned, having, as I said, talked to various US officials, that there is a possibility that there are elements within the Pakistani military which could provide that insider support to outsider elements, and that could then become a problem.
Well, that's a pretty nasty accusation, and I would say it's false. It's not only one that we disagree with and do not fear, it's one with which I'm sure your military chain of command would vigorously refute. It's time that we focus on the real issues, not the fabrications made out of
Mr. Schwartz,
of knowledge and here and there.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
Now we are told by no less than the Minister of Interior, Mr. Rahman Malik, about the presence of DINCOP in Pakistan.
Yes, what's the question?
Well, the question is that DINCOP is